Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I am going to bring you my June wrap-up. So this month wasn't too bad for reading. I read about 6 books, which was pretty good for it being a busy month, and only one of those books I gave a 2-star rating to. So the first book was Luminary by Krista McGee, which is the second book in the Anomaly series. At first I was a little confused with this book. It continued from the first story a little bit in the beginning of the book and then kind of launched itself into this whole new story and this whole new world. So I was trying to make, connections to how does this connect. But in the end of the book, she connected it all so well. It kind of came all full circle and it was just awesome. I loved how she did that. I am so excited for the third book, but unfortunately my library does not carry the third book, so I either have to borrow it on an interlibrary loan or I have to go out and buy it. Darn. But that won't be for a little bit yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to this next book. And on Goodreads, of course, like the first one, I gave it a 5-star rating. The next book was Cleopatra Confesses by Carolyn Mayer. I didn't mind this book, but it wasn't anything new. The story was decent, but it got really dry in some parts. Historically, we do know that there is that relationship between Cleopatra and Julius Caesar. Toward the end, it kind of got into too much detail about the relationship. She was only about 21, 23, and he was about 40, 50. But the way they described him, they actually described him as like a balding old man, and then how she became his lover. And it was TMI and kind of creepy, so I gave it a 2-star rating on Goodreads. I read Princess of the Midnight Ball by Jessica Day George and Princess of Glass, also by Jessica Day George. These are both fairy tale retellings of the 12 Dancing Princesses and Cinderella. The first book I really enjoyed. It was a really fun fairy tale. What I liked most about this book was the relationships between the princesses, between the love interest, between their family in general. I really enjoyed it. It was just a beautiful story with where the relationships are concerned. The main character, Rose, was a really great leading lady. She didn't annoy me. She was a great character. She had a lot of great qualities about her. I really enjoyed her relationship with the love interest and how that slowly developed. It was a really fast-paced read. It was a really simple read. It wasn't too in-depth, but the story still carried enough depth, if that makes sense. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 5-star rating on Goodreads. The sequel to that was Princess of Glass, which featured one of the other sisters from the 12 Dancing Princesses. And again, what made this book really good was the relationships, how even the side characters are part of those relationships, and those relationships with the side characters are so well developed that they just add to the story and they bring out the best in the main characters. And with the love interest, I enjoyed the fact that they developed this really good friendship, and he was so intrigued by her because he heard about her previous experience with her sisters, with the midnight ball and the mystery of the slippers falling apart, and he was so intrigued by her that he wanted to get to know her better. And I liked that aspect of it. It wasn't insta fairy tale love. Princess Poppy does get a little bit annoying in parts, but she's still a pretty relatable character. She's not the one who can save them all or who fixes it all, but she does help with the cast of characters that help her as well. For Princess of Glass, I gave it a 4-star rating on Goodreads. For the next book, I continued with the Match series by Ali Condai. This is Crossed, the second book. I didn't like this one as much as I enjoyed the first one. It did not keep me going as much as the first one did. In the first book, I didn't mind Cassia and Kay's relationship. In this book, I found Kay super annoying and ended up liking him a lot less than I did in the first book. I was really glad, though, that Cassia started becoming a stronger character and she didn't become as annoying as some of the other characters did. So I kind of liked how her character development took throughout this book, and just the strength that she had in knowing what she wanted to do. I also enjoyed some of the side characters. They definitely made the story continue for me. There was a couple of times where I had to push myself through, and I did enjoy the side characters and their relationships and how they helped the main characters grow. The book kind of took a very poetic turn on some of the writing, so I really enjoyed the writing of the book. Even throughout those slow-moving parts, it was still very beautiful and the imagery was still there. On Goodreads, I gave Crossed 3.5 out of 5 stars. And the last book I read this month was another Carolyn Meyer book. This is Anastasia and Her Sisters. When I was really young, I first watched the Anastasia movie by Don Bluth, and I loved it, and I ate up anything historically about Anastasia. Even though I've already read quite a bit on Anastasia, and Carolyn Meyer even wrote the Royal Diaries Anastasia, which was by Scholastic, which I read in junior high, I still found there's a lot more to their story that I didn't already hear, which was really nice because you start to feel with these types of books that you've heard it all. And I definitely didn't feel like I had heard it all while I was reading this book, and I really enjoyed the development more with Anastasia and her sisters, as the book says. So you got to see more of their relationship in the family as a whole. I also really liked reading it from Anastasia's point of view, which is another thing I really like about these books, very much like the Victoria Rebels. And for Anastasia and Her Sisters, I gave it a 4-star rating on Goodreads. That's all I have for you guys today. I will be back with my July TBR, and thanks again always for watching, and I'll see you guys later.